Meu Deus! Ah, tudo que eu precisava.
You just gotta look sometimes. That first one said, "I'll be back." That one says, Revelations 12.
She's trafficked in the music business. Hello, Sean Combs, right? This is my family story. It's Ilanka's story. She's trafficked for 6 years. 6 years.
So you had no contact with her during this time?
At first we did, and then no, right? 6 years Ilanka is trafficked. We don't know she's being trafficked. And a cop that's moonlighting at a casino to make extra money, that's not on duty, 2 o'clock in the morning, walks from the poker floor to his hotel room, hears a woman scream, barges through the door, and it's Ilanka. He recognizes her. He sees Mike, the guy that's the pedophile. He gets in a scuffle with Mike. Ilanka runs away. Mike gets away. We get a message that, hey, she's alive. She was seen. My mom from the first day said she's alive. God's got her. God's going to bring her back.
The CEO of a large German tech company was one of those killed in the Hudson River helicopter crash. The Spanish executive Agustin Escobar was on a sightseeing trip with his wife, Merce Cambrubi Montal, and their 3 children aged 4, 5, and 11. They died alongside the captain when the helicopter disintegrated and went down after less than 18 minutes in the air.
That's so sad what happened to that family. And there's a lot of weird stories coming out of that. A lot more is going to come out soon, I bet. We'll see.
I'm here at a track meet in Nacogdoches, Texas at Stephen F. Austin University, waiting on my son to run. And I like taking pictures and videos of the moon. Are y'all seeing this? Do y'all see what I see? What in tarnation is going on here? I thought the moon was splitting in half. Do y'all see this?
Neighbors noticing the screaming, pleading, banging coming from the back of this U-Haul box truck. Police say a man and woman were helping the driver, 50-year-old Stacy Walker, clean out the rental vehicle when he suddenly slammed the rear door, trapping them inside. Responding squad cars nearly clipped by the U-Haul, running a red light at high speed. Then racing through residential neighborhoods, barreling over speed bumps, through stop signs, over sidewalks, and finally... Stop the vehicle! Stop the vehicle! Walker, arrested at gunpoint, now faces fleeing, assault, and kidnapping charges. While police noticed that banging from the back of the truck one last time, rescuing the kidnapped couple with just minor injuries.
It is such a rare gift to get to the end of the material world in the place where only God is left. People usually do that when they hit rock bottom, but there's a corresponding place to rock bottom that I call cliff top. Where you actually pop out of the top of the material world. And there's nothing left here. Inward is the only place left.
Yeah.
There's no country you can go to. There's no new relationship you can start. There's no job that's going to do it. There's nothing. You get to the end of it. And it's like, it's excruciating, but I would wish that on everybody. I wish everybody could have everything they want.
To see.
It doesn't satisfy. Doesn't satisfy.
Yeah.
And there's a place that I've discovered within myself that is an infinite well.
You were made for more than this.
Yes, it's like
the external things.
Right in the heart of you is the doorway to the mystery. Unfortunately, it's right in the center of exactly where you don't want to go inside yourself. Exactly the things you don't want to address, exactly the things you don't want to deal with. And it just takes a heroic spiritual effort to look into that interior abyss.
If you enjoy content like this, I put out several videos a week. It would be amazing if you hit the subscribe button and join me in the next video.
When Kanye says, they continue to remind us and profit of our pain. So I just wanted to remind them of their pain. Wow. The allegations is that there's a lot of very powerful Jewish businessmen that own the record labels. If you think about the music that's being out there, especially in the Black community, right? What does it consist of? What are the lyrics about? murdering, money, drugs, freaking, disparaging and undermining women. So does he have a point?
Record labels come to you and tell you, this is the song that we need right now, and you need to make it. You have no control. So they're telling you what to rap about, telling you what's hitting right now.
They're your boss.
And
Boss is a strong word. I would say master.
You're calling them modern age slaves.
Are they free? I don't think so. If you want to poison people, you're not going to have somebody who's a different race. The people aren't going to listen.
Like,
so you bring in somebody who I can relate to that guy, right? And then they poison the minds of everybody. And now everyone has this limited belief that they're oppressed, that it's difficult to live in this country like that. They're not told they could do whatever they want. Clarence Thomas, first Black Supreme Court justice, be like that guy. Be like Dr. Ben Carson, a brain surgeon. No, they don't talk about these guys because they don't want little Black children to grow up and be like that.
What do you think he's trying to say?
He trying to say what you listen, gang. Y'all see the black KKK thing.
What does that symbolize to
That
you?
means come on, y'all know what that means? He's doing everything in reverse, right? Listen, see, I'm gonna explain Kanye.
Yeah, explain it, because I know you know it.
Y'all don't understand Kanye.
Yeah, talk to
the
us.
The white KKK suit, it's the black one. That mean in reverse. That mean everything that they do, he do. He against them, he not with them. So if you white power, I'm black power. So he mirroring everything they do, right? Cause like the only way to beat them is to join them. So he's mirroring everything about them in their face, and they recognize it, but we too lost to see it. So he having a hard time because they gonna get him. He need to join me.
But he was basically saying, I seen a clip where he was saying, like they say our pain, right? But when we put their pain on, they cancel us. Like, so he was like, I'm wearing their pain in their face. Like he's basically trying to get back at the Jews. He's like, he's really got an agenda to like squash
he a
them.
Nigga Jew. Listen, gang, you don't get it. He the same, but he different. He put it in reverse. Listen, he like this, right? Kanye get booty. Now it's time for him to do the
I'm told that Justin Bieber, just like Michael Jackson, is engaged in a war against musical executives, except the musical executives have gotten smarter over time. He wants out of Hollywood. He does not care about the money. He wants out. It is the same war which was fought by Michael Jackson. It is the same war which was fought by Ye. Okay. Remember Ye going on rant talking about these contracts, which he said were predatory contracts that artists could not get out of, contracts that artists signed when they were children, that they had no idea what these things meant. For example, they have no idea that if things go badly, they can't just go to the courts and resolve these issues publicly, because if the public can see what's going on in the courts and read the lawsuits, it changes things, right? Because we can read what Ryan and Blake and Justin Baldoni are saying, and we go, okay, well, there's a very clear winner in our imagination. I don't care how the press tries to spin it. Well, now these contracts are written so that these artists and these podcasters are forced to go into arbitration. And of course, if you're a child whose only person looking over your shoulder is your mother who had you when you were 16 years old, and you see the word arbitration, you have no idea what that means, what the context of that is. It means that it's private. It means that you have to go meet, and there's one person that gets to decide your fate, and gets to determine, one judge that gets to determine who's right and who's wrong. And of course, within LA and New York, we are learning more and more that these judges and these lawyers are in many times paid off, right? That especially within Hollywood, they own everything. Okay. I am talking about the agents, or in with the managers, or in with the judges, or in with the courtrooms. There is no way out for these artists.
Luciferian, globalistic.
That is true. It's a business. It's a music business. Once you sign up, it's for life, and there's no way out. That's how it is, yo. You signed up for it. You got to be smarter.
It requires Nephilim magic. And it requires the building up of iniquity, of iniquitous bloodlines, and then you cash in on it. So what they'll do is they'll take a girl, a snot out of her, have her get pregnant. She has a baby, and they have a second bloodline, third. At about the fourth generation, if they perform next Nephilim magic and blood ritual on that fourth generation, it's a sorcerous, powerful thing to them. And, I didn't know anything about any of that.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I mean, dude, again, I'm from Joshua, Texas, and I'm just a guy that, hey, we have an opportunity to rescue kids, and we got an opportunity to do this. We got an opportunity to do that. And we started doing that, and we just started seeing it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's like when we started coming across South Africans with the first name L. E-L,
Really?
all over the world. And it's like, if you come across a child or a young woman or a young man that, like, what are you doing in Uganda? Why are you here? Well, somebody brought me here. I had to escape something. And their first name is L. El Sion. Can you think of any famous South Africans that their first name begins with EL? Like Elon?
Oh, shoot. Yeah.
Yeah, that is all.
I didn't even think about that.
It's EL. So it's like on Stranger Things. What's that chick's name?
11.
Yeah, exactly right. And everybody calls her L.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, now we're cooking.
Now, this whole thing is so real. And I've seen it all over the world. And I had nobody to talk to. Everybody's just like, what am I going to do? I mean, who am I going to go talk to about this, that? And then all of a sudden, it's kind of like, man, you're tracking through the jungle and you got a machete. And then all of a sudden you come into a clearing and boom, there's all these other people there and you find your tribe. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's an important breakthrough whenever you start to do that. It's the sinew forming on the mighty army. Can these dry bones live? The first thing that formed was the sinew. It was the connective pieces. It wasn't the heart. It wasn't a brain. It wasn't guts. It was sinews was the first one. That when you start to connect within the body, no matter how weird that is, it's when you start to raise up an arm.
He saw that he was a reptilian, and he turned around and he clocked her. And so he gets up and he walks into the bank. My daughter goes and sits down on the park bench waiting for him to come out. She waited for like 30, 40 minutes. He didn't come out. So she goes into the bank and he's not there. He shapeshifted into a different reality, or changed bodies. When he went into the bank, he came out as something different, or maybe portaled out of there from inside the bank. I don't know. But yeah, so a lot of humans on this planet have got souls in them. But some of the humans on this planet are soulless, and they've got other entities that are controlling them.
So these are all squirrels. All of them. Like, what is happening?
I've never seen squirrels hanging out like that. So I see a bunch of them. Look at that.
No. Why is there so many? Have you seen anything like this?
Remember, the earth was spinning, right? Mm-hmm. And the sun is spinning and the moon is spinning. Mm-hmm. So how the do Alaska have sun for 30 days?
Yeah. Like the sun don't move over there.
You listening to me? Because like, you know how we did the thing, right? Mm-hmm. But how does Alaska only have the sun for 30 days?
You saying like
with no darkness?
Why was Alaska not affected by the orbiting
of the world?
That's a good question. I'm not gonna lie. That's a good question.
As you can see, that gentleman just walked out of that fire exit just then, and he was wearing a suit. Now, really funny, that's really interesting that there's a lot of people in suits walking out of this fire exit, but look at where we are. We're in the middle of nowhere. We're in the middle of Miranda, Westfield. Okay, this is crazy. And as you can see, check this out. Normal fire exit, right? That's just a normal fire exit, but guess what? Watch where it leads. Look at this. Then
That video had too many jump cuts for me to believe that that was true. A door leading to another dimension. If you replay that, it's too many cuts. It wasn't one straight video recording all the way through.
Some say as long as there's a tag saying made in China, the bag can never be luxury. However, in fact, more than 80% of the luxury bags in the world are made in China. But those luxury brands just won't acknowledge that. They take almost finished bags from China factories back to their own factories and just do the repackaging and logo installing, something like that. That way, the bags will appear at their boutiques as made in Italy or made in France. You know, those sophisticated European countries, which make you feel mysterious, royal, and thus luxury. Now, close your eyes. Let's just do a little, very easy experiment in your head, okay? Imagine that you have an Hermes bag, and suddenly the label on it changed from made in France into made in China, while everything else, like leathers, zippers, and hardware, remain the same. Do you suddenly feel that your bag is not as luxury as before? If you do, that means you have been misled and poisoned by the market campaign of those luxury brands for too long. Welcome to the real world. Now you see, those bags are made in China by our intelligent and diligent Chinese artisans. Let's not be poisoned and misled by the market campaign any longer and be a real person. Buy a bag from us, from our factory in China. See the real world for yourself.
There's a part of Schaumburg, Illinois, I'm dropping a name, and they redid this one part of all the streetlights, and they're completely purple.
Ooh, to see how the light affects people?
Well, I was with somebody with the poke, and I'm not kidding you.
It glowed?
It glowed. Now, they're going to lie and say it's not true, but it was a fresh poke. There's also something called luciferase.
Oh, interesting name,
Luciferase. These lights show up in different cities, and it's weird.
What is the first thing that Christians disagreed on? The Trinity? No, absolutely not. Because the Trinity never even began to appear for a long time. The Trinity took over almost 400 years to develop in Christianity. Almost 400 years. The Trinity goes through 5 historical stages. And in the beginning, they're not talking about Trinity. They're talking about the divinity of the Son. And they're talking about the Logos, the Word, whether it's divine or not, whether it's with God or not with God, what that means. So Trinity, no. The Christians insisted on the oneness of God. Yes, that they did. That wasn't an issue. What is the first thing the Christians disagreed on? Jerome says, the blood of Christ had not dried in the earth of Judea, meaning Jerusalem, but that there were those who said, it is not him. It is one who looks like him. So the crucifixion of the crucified man has not even finished. The blood is still coming down from the body into the sand under the cross, and people are saying, that's not Jesus Christ. That's somebody who looks like him. It's not him. That's the first. If that's not the first disagreement, it's certainly one of the very first. That's very important. Early Christians disagreed fundamentally about whether Christ was crucified or not. And many Christians of the first and second centuries And that can go on maybe into the third, but especially the first and second centuries. They said Jesus Christ was not crucified. It was made to appear that he was. And they believed that Jesus wasn't crucified. Now, does that make sense or not? Yes, because if Jesus, the son of Mary, is the Messiah, he cannot be crucified. And if he is crucified, it means he's not Christ. And that's why Paul will say, who believed in the crucifixion, that the crucifixion is a great scandal, scandalon, which means stumbling block in Greek, because it basically means he's not Christ. That's what it means to the children of Israel. He's not Christ. So this is really, really important. They disagreed about that. And this is why our teaching, which establishes that Jesus was not crucified, it's an ancient Christian teaching. And it also is a teaching that is theologically consistent with the view that Jesus was the Messiah.
Now, is this man spitting facts or is he misleading? How does he know that information of what people were discussing back then? Because there's people like this that will say things to mislead you, confuse you, and take you off the path. Just think about that.
The other thing that we see about the Ashlesha, they are connected to the Naghas. The Naghas are actually the beings living beneath the surface of this earth. Many do not want to believe all this stuff. They all think this is like some, reptilian conspiracy or some, all kinds of just conspiracy theories. But really, there are people. There are Nagha beings living underneath the earth. And if you cannot get this, then don't even follow Vedic astrology. Don't even learn nakshatras at all. These are the people who have the real occultic power. You will not even know them. You think you know them, you don't know them. They know. Naturally, they're drawn to occult, mysticism, hidden knowledge, Celtic magic. And these are naturally the people who are always connected to pharmaceutical industry, always connected to chemicals.
I mean, there are megaliths around the world, including in the United States, huge stone structures. And nobody, including, any structural engineer in the United States, has no idea how they were built in the pre-industrial age. There's literally not even a good guess as to how this was built. And of course, I don't know the answer either, but I mean, that's such an amazing thing. When were the pyramids built? Nobody knows. How are they built? Nobody knows. I can't get that out of my head. I'm not pushing a conspiracy theory. I'm just noting what we don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know why, everyone's like, shut up. Shut up. What?
No, I'm glad you said that. And there's a lot of other structures that are popping up more nowadays in archaeology. And there's even guys that do surface LiDAR and they're seeing things in fields and such. It shows the exact topography of the ground.
Exactly.
Without vegetation and
suggests what's underneath it.
Yeah. So if you start seeing geometric shapes and stuff, might be something.
It might be man-made, or at least made.
These wizards, that Netanyahu, whatever, how are all these corporations bowing to spiritual old leaders with beards? They don't know shit. They're just reading fairy tales. No, they know what they're doing. Spellcasting is real. And the highest levels of wizardry, according to Manny P. Hall, 33-degree Freemason, he wrote, no joke, I think it was in his book Magic, some are powerful enough to shoot a mental ray in the ether, the mental plane that we all share, from one side of the earth to the other, killing that person. That's the ruling family, the bloodline elites, they bow to these wizards. They say, teach me. But they know they'll never be that good. Darth Plagueis. They'll never actually teach. Even if they taught you all of it, some are just way better. And the bloodline elites are not that good. That's at these dark channeling demons and the invisible forces of nature, the impulses that crisscross in your mind, kill, murder, steal. It's not you. That's not your soul. It's in the mental ether. They know how to manipulate and warp them. These are the rulers.
And he said that my light is flickering in my apartment. So, let's go look. Nobody should be in here right now. Bro, why's my pipe? Why is that on? Why was that damn door? That door was not shut. I don't. Who are you? What do you want? I'm out.
What the f? I ain't up there. I ain't up there. So what the f? Where we go? Say. Alright. Hey, I'm black. I'm gonna get the f up out of there.
Oh, wow. That was close.
Yeah, wait, something's going on. What's the safe word? What's the safe word?
We don't have a safe word.
We have a safe word.
We don't have a safe word.
We have a rude safe word. What's the rude safe word?
No, you're making up.
Okay. Her face doesn't look like herself. Something's going on. But it's time to go.
Oh my God.
Come on.
Oh, wow.
Come on.
I don't want to go.
Come on. Come on. I'm not liking this.
It's fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah. That was not good.
Florida got 7 inches of snow. Brother, this is Alaska. Right now. There is no snow. There is no ice, no snow, nothing.
Tick tock, timeless.
Nice to meet you, baby. Nice to meet you. I hope you have a great night. Give us a camera, okay? Thank you. Back on up. Because y'all not supposed to be over here.
And he said, if you want to be a priest, in the Catholic Church, it's taught, sacerdotes est altus Christus. The priest is another Christ. So if you want to be like Christ, he says to me, do you want to be like Christ? And I says, well, of course. Doesn't every Christian want to be like Christ? He said, well, if you want to be like Christ, you need to do what Christ did. And again, that made sense. And he said, well, if you want to be like Christ, you need to do what he did. And he went to the East and studied with the gurus in India. He went and studied with the lamas in Tibet. He went to Egypt and studied with the magicians there. That's how he was able to raise the dead, to walk on water, to do all these miracles. So he says, what you need to do is you need to start studying the occult. And this is a priest telling me this. And so I thought, okay, now mind you, this is obviously decades before there was an internet. I mean, there was a little bookstore downtown. And I went there and I found a few scattering books on like the occult. And I found this book that was called Diary of a Witch by Sybil Leek. And she was one of the very first witches to, so to speak, come out of the broom closet. She was a British woman and she was a medium. And anyhow, I read the book and she was asserting in the book that witches were not evil, that this was an ancient pagan mystery religion. Among other things, she claimed that Jesus was a witch and his 12 apostles were his coven, along with their wives, So I kind of bought into that. And I I found out about this guy, Alex Sanders, who was the supposed king of the witches over in London. I sent him a letter. This is around 1968, 69. And his wife sent me back a thing. Okay, here's a coven in Rockford, Illinois, which is about 90 minutes from Dubuque. I went there and I got initiated as a witch. And then later on, I hooked up with an Alexandrian coven in Boston, and I was made a witch high priest. Started covens in, first of all, in Dubuque, where I was, and then moved to Milwaukee because there was a fellow there who had an occult bookstore. And he said, I've got all these people that want to become witches. Can you come and teach them?
When we're talking about like you being in a covenant, you doing witchcraft, I just want to make sure that we don't skip over that part. Like, what kind of witchcraft are we talking about? Because there's a lot of.
It was okay. Witchcraft originally, the kind of publicly available witchcraft was originally started by Gerald Gardner, and he came out. And witchcraft became legal in England. It was a crime until 1951. It was made legal, and he claimed, and all this is disputed, but he claimed that he came in contact with a ancient coven of witches in the New Forest region of England. They initiated him and then made him a high priest, and he went off and initiated other people. Then there's this other bunch, this Alexander's fellow. He also claims to have been initiated by a ancient line of witches by his grandmother. So those were the two main fountainheads of witchcraft in the 60s. Both were from England, but both had, spread to America. And it was white witchcraft. Both groups, their rituals were virtually identical. And but the Alexandrian group that I was in was more into ceremonial magic, which is like kind of, if in like Protestantism, they have the distinction between high church and low church. Well, Alexandrian is more high church witchcraft. We believe in demons. We just believe that it was all this nature, airy fairy, gathering herbs in the forest and dancing in the nude. And, it all sounds very innocent, except there's, especially in the Alexandrian rite, there's also some sex magic that's involved. So does that kind of answer your question?
Yes. Thank you for clarifying. I just wanted to make sure that we got that covered. So actually, let's go back to the occult bookstore that you were talking about, and let's pick up the story from there.
Well, so anyway, so we hooked up with this fellow in the basement of the store. We would hold these classes. They were packed because there were all these people. And again, this was 1972. And, there was all these people kind of like quasi hippies, and they wanted to get into the occult and magic and blah, blah, blah. The other thing that happened at the same time is that we encountered this fellow called Eli, who was a Grandmaster Druid of North America. And Druids are a little bit different than witches. It's kind of like the difference between being a Baptist and being a Methodist, And we were invited down to Arkansas, which is where this fellow lived. He had lived on top of a mountain. He had kind of a organic farm there. And we went through the whole summer, got all this occult training. We were, high priests in Druidism by the time we got done. He took me aside and he said, if you really want to understand magic, you need to read this book. And he handed me the Satanic Bible by Anton LaVey. And I said, well, why would I want to read the Satanic Bible? Witches don't believe in Satan. And he said, well, just read the book. And LaVey's contention was that magic is really about Satan. But Satan is like an archetype, he said. There is no real Satan, but it's like an energy, egregore, an archetype that you can draw upon. And it kind of made sense to me. And again, the devil was gradually pulling me in. So I wrote the Church of Satan, which at that time was in San Francisco. I became a first-degree member. And then later on, I went through some exams and studies, and I became a warlock, which was a second-degree member of the Church of Satan. And at this also, I should say this, because this is critical. This Eli guy, the Grand Druid down in Arkansas, he gave us 2 words of advice. First of all, he said, if you really want to understand Luciferian energy, you need to join the Freemasonic order. And he himself was a 33rd degree Mason. He showed me his little certificate he got. He also told me that if you ever felt like we were in deep spiritual trouble, that I should join the Mormon Church, because it was a church that had been started by witches, for witches, that we could hang out in and pretend to be nice. The image of the Mormon Church. They're straight, nice, wonderful, all-American people that have.
Now tell me what you think about that. These videos are for entertainment and education. Real or fake, fact or fiction, that's for you to decide. Until next time, this is CYPTV, and I'm out.